This is a meeting of the Township of Union Board of Education, regular meeting for June 21st, 2022. Mrs. Cappiello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brins Watson.
Present.
Dr. Francis.
Present.
Ms. McKenzie.
Here.
Mrs. Benisi. Mr. O'Shea. Mrs. Regis Darby. Ms. Santana.
Present.
Mrs. Scott Heeden.
Present.
Mrs. Williams.
Present. At this time, Ms. Santana, would you do the flag salute for us, please? Yes. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mrs. Kuhn, would you read the Open Public Meetings Act, please?
Good evening. The New Jersey Open Public Meeting Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice and to attend the meetings of the public body at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of the Act, the Union Township Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof published in the Star Ledger and Union County local sources, posted in the administrative building of 2669 Morris Avenue, Union, New Jersey, filed with the township clerk, and mailed to all persons, if any, who have requested said notice. During the course of the board meeting, the Board of Education offers members of the public an opportunity to address issues regarding the Union Township Public Schools. The board reminds these individuals to identify themselves by name and address. The first public comment period is for items on the agenda. The second public comment period can be on any issue. Public comments are limited to 3 minutes respectfully. Issues raised by members of the public may or may not be responded to by the board. All comments will be considered, and a response will be forthcoming if and when appropriate. The board asks all members of the public to be courteous and mindful of the rights of other individuals when speaking. Comments regarding students and employees of the board will not be responded to by the board. Madam President.
Thank you very much. Ms. Santana, would you read the mission statement for us, please?
The mission of the Township of Union Public Schools is to build on the foundations of honesty, excellence, integrity, strong family, and community partnerships. We promote a supportive learning environment where every student is challenged, inspired, empowered, and respected as diverse learners. Through cultivation of students' intellectual curiosity, skills, and knowledge, our students can achieve academically and socially and contribute as responsible and productive citizens of our global community.
Thank you very much, Ms. Santana. At this time, we will have comments from the public on resolutions. Please state your name and your address, and please adhere to the 3-minute rule. And if you wouldn't mind, if you're going to speak, just kind of line up so that we can go back and forth between anybody that is online that would like to speak and then anyone that's here. Anyone? Anyone? No one would like to speak on any of the resolutions. Do we have anyone online that wants to speak? We don't have any raised hands. Okay. So, Ms. Cappiello, can we have the approval of the minutes? Can I have a motion? Moved by Ms. Brins Watson. May I have a second, please? Seconded by Ms. Scott Heeden. Moved and seconded. Mrs. Cappiello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brins Watson.
Yes.
Dr. Francis.
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie.
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea.
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby. Ms. Santana.
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heeden. Mrs. Williams.
Yes. We have our communications with our resignations, retirements, leaves, and we have a request for operations. These will all be addressed during our personnel and our operations. So at this time, are we moving to our superintendent report?
Okay. Thank you. So I'm going to come around and first introduce, before we get to our State of the Schools presentation, one of our principals. As the community and the board knows, every month since I started last July, I've asked the principals to take turns at each of our 10 schools identifying a student or students who stand out. They do something special. They're not always the straight A students. They're not always the formal leaders. They're people who make a real difference in the lives of their peers and the educators in the building. So tonight I'm proud to introduce Ms. Bozzard, who's the principal of Battle Hill, to speak about two particular students at her school. Come on up, Ms. Bozzard. I'll give you the mic here.
Good evening, everyone. Is it on?
Yes.
Thank you for having me here. I am really grateful to have this opportunity to speak about Aiden and Addison. They are two fourth grade students at Battle Hill, and they will be leaving us, of course, this year and heading off to Jefferson. So I had their teachers give me a couple things about them. Addison Christie is in Miss McGuire's fourth grade class at Battle Hill. She says she is very personable, social with staff and peers. This is all true, I can attest. She is extremely motivated to improve her reading skills. We had a therapy dog at Battle Hill this year, and Addison spent a lot of time reading to the therapy dog. That was one of the benefits of having her. It actually increased the reading skills of the students in that class. She follows all school and classroom rules, always. She demonstrates empathy, understanding, and acceptance when interacting with all her peers. Addison had a tough year. Their family had a tough year this year, and she managed to pull through. They managed to pull through as a family, and we absolutely adore her as a person and a student, and I know that she's going to excel incredibly when she gets to Central 5 and through all the other years to come. I'm very proud to say that I had the experience to be with her this year, and I wish her the best. Come on up, Addison.
You want to join us for a picture? You want to join us? Don't go. Congratulations. I'm going to have your mom. Come on up. Would you come on up for a picture? You too. You're just as important as anybody else here. Oh, that's a good idea. Thank you. We'll also be putting some of these in. This is our board president.
Very nice meeting you.
Come, join us. Yeah, let's all get in the picture. All right, congratulations. Congratulations.
And Aiden Tampy. Aiden is another fourth grade student at Battle Hill. He is in Miss Weber's classroom. Aiden is one of those students that I never have seen in my office. Not for things that are negative, I should say. He is very caring. He is motivating. He helps out his peers. Ms. Weber also said he is exceptional, conscientious, hardworking, self-motivated. He is a student that can work in a group to help others. He puts forth his best effort always to complete all his tasks. He is well respected by the staff and his peers in the building. She said such students like Aiden will become great leaders and will be beneficial to helping others and doing what needs to be done in that kind of leadership role. His work is always neatly done, completed in a timely manner, and he demonstrates that he cares about his grades and is willing to improve them if needed. So Aiden, again, I'm happy to have had the time with you this year and last year, even though we were virtual for most of the year. And I wish you all the best as well when you go to Jefferson. Okay, come on up.
Congratulations. Would you come up and join us for a picture? Everybody, including the brother. Thanks. Oh, no, you can just leave it because they turned the volume down. 1 second, Kristen. Perfect, thank you. Here. Patrick, I think we got you a gig, man. Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations. This is a good time to step out if you'd rather not stay late. So go ahead and go home and get ready for the last day of school, unless I change my mind and decide to ask the board to extend the school year by a couple of days. No, I would do it to you, everybody but you. All right, so I'm going to switch gears. There is a note on the agenda that would lists the paraprofessionals, support professionals of the year being recognized tonight. We're going to wait until July to recognize them. We put together packages and other things we'd like to give them. Not prepared yet, so we're going to wait until July 19th. So please come back out July 19th in the community so we can honor the very important people who help support our educators in the classrooms. With that, I'm going to switch gears and ask Dr. Perez to join me and set up a presentation. This is the last State of the Schools presentation for the school year. And I invited Dr. Perez to say a few words about summer programs.
So good evening, everyone. This year, we are offering not just in-person summer programs, we're also offering the opportunities to do a couple of our programs virtually. So what we did in this particular presentation is we wanted to show what the offerings were for the K-5 levels as well as for our 6-12 levels. In the K-5, the programs that are listed here are located on the left-hand side in gray. And the information that you see along the right-hand side not only identifies the specific grade that that particular program caters to, but it also provides the number of students who have registered. Now, there may be questions with regard to why some of the programs have a whole number versus some that have the bar that separates them. Certain programs had a capacity that needed to be met. So that is why you'll see, for example, for the ESSER Summer Bridge program at Livingston, 110 students registered out of the 150 slots that were available. However, if you look at the Battle Hill, for example, you have 30. 30 students registered for that particular program, so once registration closed, that's how many students we had for that particular program. So I wanted to give that breakdown in case there was any confusion with regard to why some programs have a whole number versus other programs have a certain number out of a total number. With regard to Franklin, there are two programs that are being offered. You have the K-4 program, and then you have the Jumpstart Kindergarten program, which will be sending information in July to parents about registration information for that. Specific dates and times for all of these programs can be found on our district website. And if anyone has any questions or suggestions or concerns, please feel free to email the superintendent's office, and we'll be happy to get those questions answered for you immediately. On the right-hand side, just like on the left-hand side, is our program offerings for our middle school and for our middle school and our high school, and it's broken down there for you. The first program, which is a summer art program, is down for board approval tonight, and that is an art program that's going to take place at both of our middle schools and our high school, with the focus being beautifying some of our hallways in these three schools by our students. The program is going to take place the month of July, and there are different dates and time frames for the different for the students who are going to be attending each location. You then have the bottom part of the slide that speaks to the different programs for the high school. And it's all broken down, not just by registration numbers, but it also gives you some of the course offerings or course reviews that students will be engaged in if they participate in one or more of those. The last slide that I'm going to be speaking to are our virtual options. So the first one, Varsity Tutors, this is offered to our grade K through 8th grade, and we had a total of 196 students registered. This particular program works with the parents' schedules. So after registration has closed, and obviously before the program begins, the program works with the parents to determine what time frames they would like to have their children, have the tutors work with them. The STEM Summer Program is another virtual program. However, this particular program does take place during the day, and it is offered to our grades 2 through 5. And the last program was on the previous slide. It's Jefferson 5. It is a summer school program in person, but they are offering a virtual option for any students that need to, that are unable to come in person for whatever reason, and that opportunity was afforded to them.
Are there any questions for Dr. Perez about the summer programs from the board? Yeah, Chastity?
Art one, is that for all grade levels or just middle and high school?
Just for middle and high school.
Anybody else? Well, thank you, Dr. P. So this is the first board presentation I'm making since the event in Uvalde, Texas. And so what I'd like to do is take you through the series of additional measures we're going to be taking to improve safety and security throughout the entire district, and particularly at the high school. I had a meeting along with Mr. Benaquista, Ms. Kuhn, our business administrator, and a number of town officials yesterday. And I'll be talking a little bit about how we're going to collaborate to do everything from evaluating top to bottom all of our safety and security needs regarding personnel, facilities, to public relations efforts we're going to be putting together to make sure people recognize that while we do have our share of problems regarding safety and security, we're a very strong district and we have a very strong high school. So with that, I'm going to start by sharing with you what will happen in September. So there are 3 slides here. Each slide takes us through a different level of safety and security measures that we're going to be adding over the summer into the next school year. First of all, it's really important that our support staff and our faculty and our leadership go over in their head how they would play through those God forbid scenarios, active shooter, something hits the building, you know, an airplane, anything from a disaster not related, you know, to man or woman made to some of the situations we've been dealing with over the last several months, active shooters. So tabletop drills are going to be conducted for our staff for approximately an hour in September, and we'll likely repeat those drills at some point through next year, school year. So tabletop drills essentially are a run-through of scenarios that would have anybody who interacts with a child, who's responsible for a child's welfare, go through the scenarios, how they would react to a situation, and then get feedback from local law enforcement and other first responders like EMT and fire, so that we can recalibrate the way we think we should be handling things, and then better improve the way we're going to go through these responses if anything were to occur. So that's going to happen in September. The other thing I want to make really clear, and I know this is a concern among the community, is the focus we're going to place on rooting out those students who don't live in Union but somehow slip through and become students of our high school. We do currently have a process whereby we review residency, and then if we find, after sending a private investigator out to investigate, that a student doesn't live in the district, there is a process we undergo to remove the student from the rolls. And what I've been told is, I can't give you a number, I know it's a handful each month are removed from the rolls, and they are reflected on board agendas. But we know that there are more students than a handful who are here from neighboring communities. So besides what Mr. Benaquista set up, which I greatly appreciate, and that's a software program called CLEAR, that's an acronym, that's going to be instituted starting next year, which will give certain people in the district, like myself, Mr. Benaquista, and the individual in charge of registration at the central office, the ability to, using CLEAR software records, see if in fact somebody is a resident of Union. It's a preliminary step we can take to start identifying without having to go through a whole re-registration process or find out word of mouth whether somebody actually lives here. Now that being said, I think we'd agree that when this district has conducted what we call re-registration protocols, that is, we require every resident who has a child to prove once again that he, she, they is a resident, come in, present paperwork, and re-register, is an even more effective way to identify whether people live here or not. So the way it would work, as I did it in Highland Park, we would have a central location. We would set up a series of evenings, a few hours each night, try to accommodate parents and guardians who are working during the day, would come out. They would present the documentation we require for registration. Of course, they didn't have the proper documentation. We would give them a certain amount of time to procure it, and if they didn't, we would give them a warning that your child might be taken out of our school program. Now, the pivotal piece is come August or come closer to that next school year after the re-registration process is undergone. Usually re-registration, at least the way I've done it, happens around spring, late spring. Getting closer to the next school year, it would be incumbent upon us, the principal's team, to go through the entire roll of students who are on the books registered and cross-check those students with whoever didn't show up for re-registration. And that is one way we would identify students who don't belong in our schools because they're not residents. We're talking about an annual re-registration process as a possibility, what it could look like so that we don't put our residents out too far and challenge them too greatly. Would be an every other grade re-registration requirement every year so that parents, guardians would be required to re-register once every other year. So 1 year, next year might be grades K2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then the next year would be the other grades. Now, aside from that, oh, and by the way, I just want to point out that the recent incident in the school, high school, in which a student let in 4 other students, we believe was a result of a student who we've now identified. We are very close to confirming was not a resident of Union and actually a student who belonged in our school. So I think it's pretty clear that once we start honing in on finding who the kids really shouldn't be here are who they are, we're going to do an even better job, I think, improving some basic security issues that we've had here in the high school. I think at the school level, a lot of us in the room would agree we could put all the safety and security measures we want in place, but if we don't give kids structure and organization, hold them accountable for their actions, doesn't matter. They're going to keep pushing the envelope because that's what kids do. I was a middle school principal. I was a high school principal. I've worked with kids. That's what their job is in part. It's to push the envelope. It's our job to give them the boundaries. And if we don't do that, and we don't hold them accountable for their disruptive behavior, we're just going to be in this vicious cycle, no matter how many Band-Aids we put on the problem. So that has to kick in come September. Today I had a great meeting with some representatives from the high school, and we talked about the importance of enforcing the code of conduct strictly throughout, but especially at the beginning of the year, because I think you'd also agree that once kids get the message for 30, 60 days that this isn't going to be tolerated, and they start talking to their friends about it, then eventually the culture changes little by little. So whatever we do has to start happening September 1 and consistently be implemented throughout. The other thing that I'm going to be recommending to the board policy committee is that we look at the board policy and the school code of conduct to consider a stricter response to repeat offenders, kids who fight more than once, or kids who foster some kind of disruptive behavior on a frequent basis, so that they potentially risk being placed in a program that I've talked about, our extended day program, that we were not able to get off the ground because of lack of staffing this past year. But Mr. Benequista and I are dedicated to getting off the ground this year, even if it means we have to hire individuals from outside the district, which we did not do this past year. That's why we ran into a staffing problem. So again, I'll be recommending to the policy committee that we review our policy on student behavior and code of conduct, and we look carefully at a 2 strikes, 3 strikes, and this is going to happen process. It might be something which we do at the school level via code of conduct. I've also talked to the high school staff, I did this as recently as last Thursday, about the need for the next high school principal to work with us to enforce limitation of using phones in classrooms. And the high school group that I met with today, the representatives, and I talked about different ideas, requiring students to check their phones in when they go into the classroom, enforcing a no phone use rule, let them have it, let them keep it in their possession, but they pull it out, yanked, sent down to the office. If it's a second offense, parent has to come in, guardian has to come in and pick up that phone. We've got to enforce this rule. When I was a student for the day at the high school, I couldn't tell you how many kids I saw when I was in the back, at least in a couple of classes. One class in particular, first period, you had kids with Chromebooks. So the Chromebooks, they were doing their work on the Chromebooks, supposedly, and then they had their phones propped up against the Chromebook. So they were watching YouTube over here. Teacher wouldn't have known because the phone was almost in the same line of sight as the Chromebook work that the student had to do. Look, I bet a lot of the issues that we had at the high school in particular, fights in the bathroom, fights in the hallways, were planned because kids were texting with each other when they had their phones. We've got to do something with phone use, besides the fact that it's a distraction for learning. And the other thing we want to do at the school level is improve how we are holding students accountable for checking, for wearing their IDs. A great idea that came up from the high school faculty when I met with them this past Thursday, we talked a bit about safety and security, is something that Mr. Benequista said we used to do, which we should return to, and that is when students come in, they're required to either show ID or have ID. If in homeroom we find that they don't have their IDs, we send them to an office, whether it's attendance or main office, to print a temporary sticker ID. If that student repeatedly does not wear the ID, we consider charging a fee to make up a new $3 fee, whatever it takes to make up a new ID. IDs are vital. I mean, if we knew all of our kids were wearing their IDs and it was a strictly enforced protocol, we may have even found those 4 students who got into the building faster than we did. As it was, our security team and local police were fantastic. They swooped in. We were able to rectify the problem. But we may have even saved ourselves several minutes if we knew we had these kids walking around without any IDs. The final thing I want to point out is what I alluded to earlier. Mr. Benequista, Ms. Kuhn, and I met with the township mayor, business administrator, assistant business administrator, several police officers, fire officials, and then one committeeman. And we collaborated on what we're going to do as a partnership, which I'm very thankful for. There's one thing that I'm finding is Union is a big community. It's got very rich municipal resources, and our local committee and mayor are more than willing, and business mayors are more than willing to throw their support behind us. It was a wonderful meeting. And what we came away with, at least 2 things that I can share right now are bringing in one main thing, bringing in a third party that the township has used before effectively to evaluate soup to nuts how we're doing in the area of security and safety. First, looking at our facilities. I talked about wanting to equip all of our exterior doors with alarms, both audio and video. We do have that in place, but not to the extent that we could prevent what happened last week when 4 students entered the building. I did direct Ms. Kuhn to go ahead and get specs and quotes on that equipment, but I pulled back on that, knowing that the evaluator who's going to come in a matter of weeks, it's fast enough that I hope at the next board meeting I can present, or the company coming in to do this work can present to the board and community what the findings were. They might be able to suggest what kind of a system we should be employing at the exterior doors, things like moving the Class 3 officer who's now at the high school closer to the front entrance. There may be even little things like that, little logistical planning things like that we're missing. Having a third party come in to help us review our facilities structurally and procedurally is going to be extremely helpful. We're timing it as such that the audit can be completed in July so that we have August and into early part of September to make whatever changes we can't currently make. And the next thing they're going to do, of course, is look at personnel. They're going to look at the number of security guards we have, where our security guards are staffed. Mr. Benequista did a wonderful job with our manager of security to set up zones and whatnot. Maybe there's an even more effective way to do that. Or maybe we should be doing that, but we should be adding more guards. I might be making recommendations, personnel related, to the board come July. So that's my piece right now on safety and security. I promise I will follow up with the board, or the evaluator will come in and follow up with us about the results of that audit come July. There are a couple of other things I want to share, and then I'm going to sit down, and we can proceed with the meeting. Next, speaking of July, next meeting, I do want to remind everybody that I'm going to be providing updates to the strategic plan each month. So next month, while I'm not doing it now, I'll wait till next month. I'll be focusing on the work we've already been doing on goals 1, 3, and 4, and Mr. Benequista is going to provide a brief personnel update. We have been interviewing a lot. I think I've scheduled 20 to 30 final round interviews in the last week and a half, and so we want to talk to you about our fill rate as we get ready to fill all the positions for September. Last thing I'm going to do is present some HIB data, harassment, intimidation, and bullying data for the board and community. Before I get to the latest data on the number of cases, it is my responsibility to share with the public and the board the results of an annual self-assessment that our HIB specialists conduct. Our HIB specialists are sometimes our guidance, our counselors, not our guidance counselors, our counselors, right, Ms. Bristler? In all of our schools, they are the ones responsible on the ground for facilitating investigations and taking care of the paperwork as it relates to any acts of harassment, intimidation, or bullying. So every year, school districts have to conduct an assessment. A little confusing. The assessment is actually conducted for the prior year, which is why you see, or you will see, data I'm about to show you for 2020-2021. Ms. Ahern, who is our district coordinator for HIB, is currently working with her team on the 2021-2022 self-assessment, and I'll report on that soon. A couple things you should know. I'm not going to get into all the detailed data, but I did make it available on the web, and for those in the back who can't see my slides, this presentation goes up on the web tonight, so you can download it, click, and you'll be able to take a 26-page document, review all the very specific data. The rubric, I'm not going to go over all these things, but you can see on this slide, the rubric is based on a number of aspects. Things like, are we staffing appropriately to support our HIB work? Are we following all the protocols? There are very, very strict legal procedures we have to follow, timelines, letters we have to send out. So the rubric for self-assessment has us reflecting on how effectively we're actually processing all the paperwork and going through all the protocols. We have to be mindful. I'm going to show you the next slide in a second. This is a self-assessment. It's us assessing ourselves. So the data you'll see is pretty varied across the schools. I'm going to show it to you right now. And then the reason why I think it's varied is because when you're doing a self-assessment, you've got 10 schools, right? So you've got 10 different groups of people using their own metrics as it relates to the rubric, their own view, their own subjective thinking to the process. So, it's not as authentic as you're going to get if you bring in an outside party to look in and evaluate what you're doing. But the state does publish this data, so it's important. And I threw it up on this slide. Again, you can download it and take a look at it up close later tonight. It's based on a 78-score system, and none of us scored ourselves perfect. So we're far from perfect. But then you have a school like Jefferson that scored itself a 54, and a school like, I think the highest get was both Kiwami and Battle Hill scored 76. The data that I linked in the slide will show you how people scored themselves according to I think it's 7 clusters, and there are between 3 to 5 indicators under each cluster. It's a lot. There's a lot there to look at, so it's pretty thorough information. And finally, as I do every month, I want to show you the latest case numbers of HIB cases district-wide that came to our attention. We had 15 cases. 6 were founded. 2 were founded. 6 were not founded to be acts of HIB, and then 7 were inconclusive. By inconclusive, we mean, and I've said this before, but I'll repeat, for those who haven't seen this data before. By inconclusive, we mean we just didn't have enough evidence to support a decision one way or the other. We didn't have witnesses. There are various things that could point to a situation not being conclusive. So with that, I shared a lot, but I'd like to entertain questions from the board if there are any, about safety, security, about the HIB information, about summer programs if they come up again. I think, can you turn your mic on?
What would be the cost of this evaluation?
Cost of the evaluation.
From this security
We
standpoint?
don't know that yet, and I understand that the township is going to be a partner in absorbing some of that cost, which I greatly appreciate. So I don't know how much the district is going to have to pay, but that's something which I'll of course share with the board. But I understand that the township is going to pay a good sum of that funding, which we were, Mr. Benequista, you were there. I mean, Mr. Kuhn, am I correct? Yes. Yeah. So there's going to be, I feel comfortable saying there will be minimal cost to the board.
Okay.
Mr. Arp?
When will the review of the code of conduct and the handbook start, and who will be part of that process?
Say that once more.
When will the review of the code of conduct and the handbook start, and who will be part of that process?
Okay, it's a great question. So, as you all know, we have a vacancy at the high school right now, and so, I told the high school faculty, and I mentioned it in my communique to the parents, I'm close to being able to share more detailed information about how we're going to proceed. Not there yet. Maybe in a week or so, you'll get a phone message from me. That's how important I think this whole thing is. And so as soon as we know who will be in place, and I want somebody in place, by the way, in mid-July, at the latest, that individual will help, will form a committee if necessary, and the committee will involve stakeholders. I would like to see some parents involved in that, maybe some students, to review the code of conduct. I'm not looking, by the way, at a wholesale change in the code of conduct, at least not yet, but there are things I think we need to tweak, such as what I pointed out. You know, right now, when we have a student who is a repeat fighter, you know, a student who just doesn't understand how to handle him or her or their self in a traditional setting, for whatever reason. It maybe was, you know, it's traumatized by something and it's influencing that behavior. We don't have a clear-cut response. What was happening for a while is we would suspend a student who fights for 10 days, fights again, 10 days, fights. It wasn't until we had that brawl that I actually had 12 students who I removed completely from the rolls for the rest of the year, not from the rolls, but from the building, withheld from going to the prom and graduation. So I think we need to at least clear that up. But I don't think we're going to be looking at a wholesale change, at least not yet. Other questions? Thank you, Madam President.
Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Superintendent of Schools and Education Student Discipline Committee presents the following resolution for the board's consideration. E1, agenda item reported at June 14, 2020 work session, which was the superintendent's report of HIB May 18th to June 14th, 2022. E1A, agenda item affirmed at the June 14, 2022 work session, which is the superintendent's determination of HIB May 11 through May 17 of 2022. E11, the superintendent's report of HIB for the period of June 14, 2022 to June 21, 2022, in accordance with the information at the hands of each board member, and no vote is required. E11A is affirmed the superintendent's determination of HIB for the periods of May 18, 2022 to June 14, 2022, accordance with the information in the hands of each board member. E2 is approved the NJDOE school self-assessment for determining grades under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights Act for the period of July 1, 2020 to July 30th, 2021, in accordance with the information at the hands of each board member. E3 is approved CBI site and SLE, approved the community-based instruction and instructional learning experience, SLE, work-based learning for the 2022-2023 school year, as listed. E4, approved articulation agreement with King University. E5, approved descriptions to summer programs. E6 is to approve the 2022-2023 school calendars, and E7 is to approve the Davis project for the Peach Grant. Second.
Mrs. Brins Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Francis,
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie,
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea,
Yeah, yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby,
Yes.
Ms. Santana,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heeden,
Yes.
Mrs. Williams.
Yes. Mr. O'Shea, Fiscal and Planning, please.
Under finance, Madam President, I'm asking, since it is a very long agenda of that portion, can we do it all in one motion, or do you want me to do it individually?
Are there any questions regarding anything on finance? If there's no questions, we can go ahead and do it in a block.
Thank you, Madam President. Upon the recommendation of the Superintendent of Schools, the Fiscal and Planning Committees present the following resolutions for the Board's consideration and passing. F1 through F33, and F34 is for information purposes only, there's no vote required.
Okay, it's been moved by
Five
Mr.
on the next page.
Huh?
Did I miss one?
Yeah, that's 35.
35.
Oh, no, I apologize. Oh, and also F35, so it'll be F1 to F35.
Okay. May I have a second, please? So moved. Ms. Santana seconded. So it's moved by Mr. O'Shea, seconded by Ms. Santana. Mrs. Capiello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brins Watson,
Yes.
Dr. Francis,
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie,
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea,
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby,
Yes.
Ms. Santana,
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heeden, Mrs. Williams.
Yes. Mr. O'Shea, you're up again.
Okay, our chairman, Ms. Manisi was not able to attend tonight, so as vice, I will go over each one. Under operations and committee resolutions, with the recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the operation committee presents the following resolutions for the board's consideration and vote. 01 is the approval of the security drill and bus evacuation reports for the 2021-2022 school year. Excuse me. 02, approval of the participation in non-binding cooperative purchase agreements as set for the 2022-2023 school year. 04, approve request for New Jersey Wrestling Officials Association to use Union High School for the wrestling tournament, which would be on Sunday, November 6th of 2022. 04 is the approval to renew, award, or permit to expire pursuant to PL 2015, Chapter 47. These contracts are or have been or will continue to be in full compliance with all federal and state statutes and regulations. 05 is the approval of rental fee schedules for the 2022-2023 school year. 06 is the approval of lunch prices with Pomptonian for the 2022-2023 school year. 07 is the approval of use of vehicles for the JDM Consulting Group and the gentleman, John Masso, to be used in the district during his interim assignment with the district, effective immediately. 08, upon request for the use of the Union High School facility site for the Chamber of Commerce for their 11th annual Mayor's Day K5 run on Sunday, September 22nd, 2022. 09 is the approval award bid for Burnett Middle School kitchen renovations. The bid is to MAP International Import and Export for the Burnett Middle School kitchen service line renovations in the amount of $348,448.20. 010 is the approve of the award of bid for the kitchen equipment service and repairs to Able Mechanical Incorporated for kitchen equipment services and repairs for the period of July 1, 2022 to June 2023 as printed. 011 is the rescind approval of healthcare broker Willis Towers Watson as healthcare broker for the period of July 1, 2022 to June 2023. 012 is the approval of healthcare broker approval of Fairview Insurance Agency as the health broker for the period of July 1, 2022 to June 2023. Yes.
Second. Moving and seconding an amendment to approve the healthcare broker to include Fairview Insurance Agency and the Della Vecchia Agency as our healthcare broker and our casualty and property and casualty brokers. So we've had a motion and we've had a second. Is there any discussion?
Madam President?
Doctor?
Yeah, I just want to know, how do we come up to this decision to make Fairview the healthcare broker? And I'm hearing for the first time the Vecchia, I don't know who that is, without any, an RFP or anything of such.
Actually, we did not need an RFP to do this, and it's a consolidation, of services. So one company now has both our health and our property and casualty.
What my question is, why would we do this when we had Willis, who's done a great job prior to giving it to Fairview in the past, and Fairview did such a terrible job. I mean, even the UTA Vice President, Rich DeVanzo, said such 2 years ago when we gave it back to Willis. I just don't understand, we found that, Fairview didn't offer all the services that they were looking forward to. And I'm quite, shocked that we didn't hear anything from the UTA regarding this. I remember that the bid for Fairview was roughly around $96,000 at that time, and Willis was about $110,000. But it was more about services being offered and what was good for our district. And if it's not my understanding that we had saved this past year about $2.5 million with Willis. I just don't understand why we're doing this.
Again, we're consolidating services, and one company is going to service us.
No, I understand that, but why are we switching? First of all, we unanimously voted on this earlier in the year, and if Willis was able to handle all of the healthcare broker, why are we consolidating?
Why would we consolidate?
When
It
Fairview
makes sense to have
when
one
Fairview
company.
had when Fairview had the casualty and workers' comp, I just don't understand it.
And you're entitled to that. Does anybody else have any comments? Ms. Regis Darby?
Are we saving any money by rescinding this one and going to this new one? Because, is there a savings, are we saving money for the district by
can.
moving?
As far as into the service for, of last year's RFPs, there will be a savings. The Fairview Group has merged with a larger organization called the Della Vecchia Group. The way it's going to work is in regards to savings monies for the financing end. That is the specialty of the Della Vecchia Group. We're not making any change as far as the health plan as of now, because there was a savings, but we have to save a lot more. The administrative end, which is the taking care of the claims and all of that area, is going to be strictly Fairview. Unfortunately, at the time last year, Fairview did not do the correct job that we thought they should have done in regards to the financial end. Now that this one company, Delvecchio, is working together with them, they're very reputable, highly respected. We felt that the consolidation would be the best thing for us at this time. In view of the fact that we were near the end, we had to make a decision. It was a mistake on my part when we put it on last month. Mea culpa, that's all I could say. I just overlooked it, not realizing and pulling it. I should have pulled it. I did speak to the lawyer at the time, and I made him understand that there were questions that we wanted in regards to possibly moving to a consolidation of the insurance agency. We both failed on that, to be very honest with you. I have to apologize to the board for my missing it. But going forward, I feel this is going to be the best way. We have to look at every portion of this situation of just consolidating. We had, unfortunately, because we had two going here, it was a little bit of a problem for Ms. Kuhn as far as getting in contact with certain people. That is going to be alleviated right now with the Delvecchio group in going forward, and I think you'll find that this is going to be a very good situation for us. Yes, it all has to deal with consolidation. It also has to do with monies.
And in terms of, Mr. O'Shea, in terms
Sure.
of,
Ms. Regis Darby?
Mr. O'Shea, in terms of the people that this is going to affect, was there any kind of conversation that was had with them, and are they clear that, about the merger, and what does the merger means to them as the people who are going to be affected by this particular move?
Understandable. When we decided to make this change, I reiterated to the two broker, Fairview and Della Vecchia, that they are to sit down with the UTEA and all of our staff people in regards of how we're going to go forward. Let them, if there is any problem, the UTEA or any of our unions is immediately are to go to us. We're making this change for that reason. So there should be within, I'm hoping by the end of the week, a conversation with the brokerage firm, with our unions, sitting them down. I want the unions, if they feel still worried about this merger, to speak.
I just feel like we should, I hear what you're saying, and I get it, what you're saying and everything.
Yeah.
I just wish that things like this, to be placed on the agenda like this, I just want to know, like, you have the
Yeah.
vote of it. I feel more confident voting on something when I really understand the scope and the sequence behind it, so I can make one of those, a decision that is going to be meaningful, so.
Yeah, no, I made a mistake in not pulling it last month. And that was an oversight by me. I only can apologize. And when I had noticed it, and then I realized it, I had to make some phone calls, and I spoke to our attorney, and he says, we can do this by law, it's legal. Again, I'm sorry, I don't normally like to do something like this.
I'd like to make a motion to end debate. May I have a second, please?
You want to do what?
I'm ending debate. We're going to take a vote on the
No, it's not a
amendment.
debate, it's discussion.
It's discussion, it's debate.
No, it's not a debate.
May I have a second, please?
It's something that we don't get to do, Ms.
Dr.
Williams.
Francis, I understand, but you've spoken twice.
No, I've spoken once.
Oh, she spoke twice.
No, she
Okay,
spoke.
speak again. You have your second time to speak.
I just, listen,
And then we're going to take a vote.
My thing is that, I want to say to the board that we have to stop doing things that's circumventing the process. this should never come this way to the board. I don't know anything about Delvecchia. And I think it's wise to put out an RFP at any cost to save us money. And if you're saying that Fairview didn't do a good job enough, that they were missing certain things, you needed Delvecchia to come in to help out or augment, I think that shows that Fairview is not the company we should be going with. Did anyone go back to Willis and say, Willis, can you cover casualty and healthcare broker?
No,
I just wish we stop introducing things between our work session and our regular session, and not give us an opportunity to discuss this. So when we come here in public, we're not sitting here bickering, or as
We're
you
not
say,
bickering.
debating this issue.
We're not
And so, and I wouldn't have to be asking to table things. I know more.
Thank you. Can I have a second to amend 012, please?
Second. Oh, I'm sorry, I apologize.
Moved by Mr. O'Shea, seconded by Ms. Santana. A second on the amendment?
Yeah.
Or, okay. Okay. So now we go back to a vote on all of the resolutions? Is there any other discussion on any of the other resolutions?
We didn't vote on 012. To include it.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Brins Watson?
So the vote is just on including Delvecchio.
Correct.
That's a yes.
Dr. Francis?
I say no.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
I just wanted the public to know I'm saying no because I don't have enough information.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Hayden? Mrs. Williams?
Yes. Ms. McKenzie, would you do the personnel resolutions, please?
We have to vote on it. We have to vote on all.
Oh,
Do they want to do the
I'm sorry. Let's vote on the resolution.
discussion items? No.
Mrs. Capello, roll call.
For operations, the motion would be Mr. O'Shea. Who's our second?
Okay. Okay, Ms. Santana.
Mrs. Brins Watson?
Yes on all, abstain on 012.
Dr. Francis?
No to 011, 012, yes to the rest.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
Yes to everything except I'm going to abstain in 011 and 012.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Hayden? Yes. Mrs. Williams?
Yes. We also have two discussion items.
I apologize, yes. First discussion item is the request by the Township of Union Education Foundation to use the gym and cafeteria at Jefferson School on Friday, September 23rd, 2022, between the hours of 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. for their annual pizza tasting contest. And the request of number 2 is for the Union High School class of 1971 to tour the Union High School on a Friday, September 9th, 2022, after school hours, and to borrow a Union High School banner in accordance with the information handed to the board members.
Okay, thank you. Traditionally, the request from the Education Foundation, we never say no. So I'd like to make a motion to permit the Township of Union Education Foundation the use of the gym and cafeteria at Jefferson School on Friday, September 23rd, 2022, from 3 p.m. to 8 p.m. for their annual pizza tasting contest. May I have a second, please? Second. Seconded by Ms. Scott Hayden. Any discussion? No. Mrs. Capello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brins Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Francis?
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
Yes.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Hayden? Yes. Mrs. Williams?
Yes. And the second discussion item is from our former president, board president, and it's the request to use Union High School on Friday, September 9th, 2022, and to borrow a UHS banner in accordance with the information in the hands of each board member. May I have a motion, please? So moved. Where did I get my so moved? Ms. Brins Watson, did you second? Okay.
Who second?
Ms. Brins Watson.
Oh, who's the motion?
I made the motion.
Oh, sorry. All right.
Roll call.
Mrs. Brins Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Francis?
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes. Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
Yes.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heeden?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes. Personnel Committee resolutions, please, Ms. McKenzie?
Okay. Madam President?
Yes.
Negotiation.
Okay.
You want to make the motion and then forward it to me? Okay. Make the motion.
So I move that we accept the MOAs for the UTASA and the UTEA for the period going forward from, when are they contract years?
Okay. We apologize. These are two walk-ons for the MOA for the two units, as Marissa McKenzie indicated, the UTEA and the UASA. And I will read the resolutions into your hearing. Resolution for UTEA. Whereas the Township of Union Board of Education and the Union Township Education Association are parties in a collective bargaining agreement which expires on August 31st of 2021. And whereas the board and the UTEA have been engaged in negotiations regarding a success agreement to cover the terms of September 1 of 2021 through August 31 of 2025. And whereas the board and UTEA have come to a tentative agreement regarding numerous proposals, and whereas the agreements made between the parties are contained in the attached MOA, and whereas the UTA has ratified the MOU upon vote of its members. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the board hereby approves the attached MOA to be incorporated into the CBA. So if you made the motion, I would need a second, and then...
Second.
Second by Ms. Santana.
Roll call.
Discussion? Any discussion?
Roll call.
No.
Mrs. Cappiello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Brins Watson? Yes. Dr. Francis?
Abstain.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yeah. Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
Yes.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heeden? Yes. Mrs. Williams?
Yes.
It wasn't this. Okay. And the second,
All right.
as I read in, going to make the motion? And the second, this is for the UTASA. Whereas the Township of Union Board of Education and Union Township Association Principals are parties to a collective bargaining agreement which expires August 31st of 2021. And whereas the board and the UTASA have been engaged in negotiations regarding the successor agreement to cover the periods of September 1, 2021 through June 30th of 2024. And whereas the board and the UTASA have come into a tentative agreement regarding numerous proposals, and whereas the agreement made between the parties are contained in the attached memorandum of understanding, and whereas the UTASA has ratified the MOU upon vote of its members. Now, therefore, it be resolved that the board hereby approves the attached MOA to be incorporated into the CBA. We need a second.
Second. Mrs. Williams made the second.
Was it motion and second? Yes.
Mrs. Williams seconded. Yes.
Mrs. Briggs Watson? Yes. Dr. Francis?
Abstain.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
Yes.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heron? Yes. Mrs. Williams?
Yes. Ms. McKenzie?
Upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the Personnel Committee presents the following resolutions for the board's consideration. P1A and P1B were approved at work session. P1A-1 through P15.
Got a second? Okay, Ms. Benz Watson, all right. Any discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Capiello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Briggs Watson? Yes. Dr. Francis?
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby? Yes. Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heron? Yes. Mrs. Williams?
Yes. That moves us to our policy committee. Ms. Santana.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the policy committee presents the following policies for the board's consideration. Policy 1, policy 2416.01, postnatal accommodations for students, in accordance with the information in the hands of each board member. Policy 2 is policy 2417, student intervention and referral services. That's once again in accordance with the information in the hands of each board member. Policy 3 is number policy 3161, examination for cause, with the information in the hands of each board member. Policy 4 is policy 4161, examination also for cause. Policy 5 is policy 5512, harassment, intimidation, and bullying. Policy 6 is policy 2530, resource materials.
Okay, Ms. Santana moved. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. McKenzie. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mrs. Capiello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Briggs Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Francis?
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
Yes.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heron? Mrs. Williams?
Yes. Our chair of residency is not here today. Would you mind? Ms. Scott.
Upon the recommendations of the superintendent of schools, the residency committee presents the following resolution for the board's consideration. Approve the list of students removed from the rolls. The approval was given to 2 students who will be allowed to complete the 2021-2022 school year in accordance with the non-public school information in the hands of each board member.
May I have a second, please? Ms. Briggs Watson seconded. No discussion. Mrs. Capiello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Briggs Watson? Yes. Dr. Francis?
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
Yes.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heron? Yes. Mrs. Williams?
Yes. Ms. Briggs Watson, I know you told us some exciting news last week.
Yes.
Can you share that?
No resolutions to share, but we definitely wanted to share with the public that we are looking at a rollout for our new website for the district of July 1st. And hopefully, we will all be pleased with what we see.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, approval of our bills. Upon recommendation of the superintendent of schools, the board concur with the bills listed in the permanent bound register appended to these minutes and be ordered for payment. May I have a second, please?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. McKenzie. No discussion. Mrs. Capiello, roll call, please.
Mrs. Briggs Watson?
Yes.
Dr. Francis?
Yes.
Ms. McKenzie?
Yes.
Mr. O'Shea?
Yes.
Mrs. Regis Darby?
Yes.
Ms. Santana?
Yes.
Mrs. Scott Heron?
Yes.
Mrs. Williams?
Yes. At this point, do we have any unfinished business? No unfinished business. I just want to say something. After we made a vote on transfers, I got an email and it kind of admonished the board for our decision. And I just want to say that we are absolutely listening to people, and equity issue. The Band-Aid's been torn off. We're having the conversations, and we're going to continue, looking into equity. We're having an equity audit. We're going to be doing professional development. I actually did speak with some of the teachers, and they were okay with their transfers after we had these conversations. So I just want to let people know that we did not listen to them. We did what we thought was best. We reacted to their declarations that they were in toxic environments, and we are listening and we are working. So I just had to put that out there. There is no more unfinished business. Can we move to new business? Does anyone have any new business? Yes, Ms. Scott Hayden and then Ms. Santana.
Sorry. So I just wanted to take a moment to highlight some of the things that are going on in the district with our students and some of our staff. So first, the softball first team watch-on conference, Alexa LaCoury and Kaja Simpkins. Honorable mention was Ariana Alvarado, Kelly McDonough, and Annabelle Farina. Student advocates for gun control and members of the Key Club, Faith Cardillo and Stephanie Carmino, prepared speeches, and the Key Club president, Jeremiah Avialo, also attended. Phil Sims All-Star Football Game at King University. We had Brianna Cameron. She sang the national anthem, and several football players participated in the game. I want to say thank you to all the elementary schools for their beautiful concerts. You guys did an outstanding job. So to our staff and students, thank you for a job well done. Union was represented at the TCNJ Special Olympics, the Summer Games. It was an article also printed in the newspaper in regards to that, highlighting our students and their achievements. The medals earned by Wilbur Jones, Orventia Sr., Munir Chianti, Carissa Drillon, Xavier Castillo, and Giselle Morales. Thank you to my school votes and the Ashby Club for preparing a time capsule which is to be opened. They buried a time capsule to be opened within 50 years. Congratulations to Ms. Hall and our school nurses who were honored by the Union Rotary Club. Congratulations to Benjamin Davilson and Ojaluke Adusanga and Maya, Wilkins, who won scholarships from the Rotary Club essay contest. Congratulations to all seniors on their upcoming graduation, as well as our middle school graduates. Congratulations to our high school track team. They had an amazing season. Congratulations to Union High School Performing Arts Company. The orchestra took first place, and the swing choir also took first place. Overall Vocal Soloist Award was Ellis Foreman and Dasane Williams. Congratulations to our boys volleyball team. They also had a great season. And congratulations to Coach Navarrete and staff for the Union baseball team for raising over $12,000 for our CAP Classic donation, which was made to the, I'm not sure what her writing says. I think it says the Tunnel to Towns.
Tunnels, yeah.
So I want to say congratulations, but I also want to take a point of personal privilege to say to our educators out there who are in the audience and also watching, and also to our union president and her executive board, that thank you for your resilience during the school year. I want to remind you all to take some time this summer to focus on your core and your well-being. That's very important. We had a very tumultuous year. Our students had a rough time this year coming off of COVID. You had a rough time this year coming back into the school setting and dealing with that. You stepped up, you stood up, and I want to say thank you from the bottom of my heart. I have grandchildren here in this school district. I know, they're not the greatest at all times, but I definitely strive to work with them to try to be, great students. But I want to say to you, take some time for yourself this summer, relax, refocus, readjust. So when you return in September, you return at your best so you can be your best for our students. So thank you to you for what you do every day.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Scott Hayden, for that. At this time, if there is, Ms. Santana. Ms. Santana.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kim, for those heartfelt words. Nobody says it better than you. Thank you so much.
Except sometimes you. Y'all
Yeah, I
neck
like
and
that.
neck.
Okay. So I did specifically want to speak to the Union boys. They won their first 4x400 title at the 2022 Meet of Champions. And there was a great quote that was on our social media that I just wanted to put out there. And it says, at the beginning of the season, there were big expectations for us. We weren't going to settle for anything less than what we just did, especially indoors. After coming so close and not getting the same opportunity that we did this year, that fueled our fire going into the outdoor season, and we had a very successful season. And that's from our senior, James Mackey. And I just want to echo, so I guess Kim got the teachers, and I love you, but I just want to say our kids are so great, right? They really, really are. Every day I had a horrible morning, and then I was at my fourth grader's graduation, and it just all it goes away, and you smile, and it becomes about the kids. So I just want to say thank you to all the kids that keep me going, this board going, and all the educators and everybody that does it. So and I'm just excited for next year, coming back, all of us, and doing it all again. And I hope everybody has a great summer.
Thank you, Ms. Santana.
Thank you.
Thank you both. So, with that being said, and you guys already know how I feel about our teachers and our kids and our entire district. So, Ms. Santana and Ms. Scott Hayden, they say it well, and I echo their sentiments. So, at this time, we will have comments from the public. Again, I ask that if you're going to speak, you line up, and we'll go back and forth between people here and people that are online. And again, just state your name, your address, and adhere to the 3-minute time rule. You're on.
My name is Patrick Brooks, 893 Garden Street. First, Dr. Taylor, thank you for laying out your plans and hopes for the following this coming year in terms of safety. Actually, whoever else is involved, Bequista, et cetera. If I could, the one thing I would like to just suggest with that, closing the schools on the election day. If you look at the school districts all around us, Cranford and et cetera, their schools were closed on election day. Not every school is as lucky as the high school or some of the other schools where they can cordon off an area where the public can come and go and vote. Some places like Battle Hill in our neighborhood, you can't. There's just no way to get to the cafeteria or any other area without going around. When looking at safety, if you can consider that, it's one day. You might as well just close the schools for the day. Or if you don't want to lose the day, or we'll call burn the day, virtual. Do a virtual day just for the one day so the kids don't lose out on something, or maybe get some online classes or something like that, or get homework from the teachers and stuff. So with your plan, sir, if you could consider that, that would be great. That would be a big step, only because, as I said, when I was in high school, I was lucky, and this is 84 to 88. They closed off the one classroom which is adjacent to the parking lot, and no one had access to their rest of the school. And this was 84 to 88. We didn't have anything like this. Not all schools are lucky in this town. Some are, some aren't, where they would have that access to be able to close off. So in that respect, being conscientious to all the students from pre-K to 12, just consider closing the schools for election day. It's one day. So, thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you very much. Hand is raised online. Is that Ms. Lipson?
Oh, I hope I don't get all that feedback. Susan Lipstein, 2569 Jackson Avenue. I want to thank you for approving the Education Foundation's request for Jefferson School for the pizza tasting. We're really hoping to be able to go back this year to do it because We haven't been able to do it due to COVID. It's been very successful and a great way to start the school year. Have people come to work with our pizza makers in the town. I said I wasn't going to say too much other than that, but I do want to point out to wish Barry Lossell happy retirement. We worked quite often with him on setting up needing what we needed for the Ed Foundation when we had activities in the schools, and he was always wonderful. He worked very, very hard. And the other thing, I would be remiss if I did not state my concern about the walk-on, a part of the agenda that board members were not aware of, about merging insurance agencies at the last minute. We worked a lot to have transparency and accountability on the board. I was one of the people that was extremely vocal in getting backup information put out prior to voting so the public could see what was going on. The Ed Foundation works hard to raise money for things that the district can't afford, even though it has such a big budget. But we want to know that the district is really taking care of the money that is allotted. And if you put on a change on the agenda and you have board members that don't know about it and don't know the cost, and the public certainly doesn't know about it and doesn't know the cost, I think that's a problem. Mr. O'Shea may have made a mistake, but I think he should have been able to recognize it prior to tonight's meeting. And certainly this could have been tabled to get the information on the costs out to the public. I think it's really important if you want to have transparency and accountability, which everyone talks about, and I didn't see it tonight. So probably Oprah to find out what the costs are. I probably shouldn't have to do that. I don't think board members either should have to do it, and certainly not the public. And meanwhile, hopefully people will have a healthy and happy summer, but I would be remiss without stating my concerns. Thank you.
Time for your comments. Next, please.
My name's Jim Cardillo, 634 Evergreen Parkway in Union.
Just move the mic a little bit closer to you. Thank you.
Is that okay? All right. I did want to speak to you tonight on behalf, we just found out that one of the guidance counselors at the school, Ms. Voltaro, would not be returning next year. And in general, I want to speak about how the lack of continuity is hurting our children. My daughter, Faith Cardillo, who you recognized before, as the president of My School Votes and who also spoke at the March for Our Lives rally last week, would not have been able to do those things without the encouragement of Ms. Voltaro. Now, she has had a different guidance counselor every year since she's been in this high school. And, you know, in the past, the results were very disappointing. This year, she had someone that listened to her concerns, and addressed the issues with her and really heard her and gave her confidence and built her up where she was able to really excel and blossom and do these things. And in general, the students, because of COVID and other things, and this lack of continuity, were not properly taught how to use a system like Naviance because they weren't in school for the better part of 2 years. So now when it's time going into their senior year to do applications and to do these things, you know, they're going to have to start all over again with another guidance counselor trying to teach them this system.
Sir, excuse me. We're not going to be discussing any personnel during the meeting.
All right. Let me speak in the broad terms then of how continuity is hurting children then. And the lack of continuity is hurting these children to a great deal. You have student athletes who put down a particular guidance counselor on over hundreds of applications. In my daughter's case, over 200 questionnaires. She has put down a particular counselor as their point person. Now all of a sudden there's going to be a new person that is supposed to pick up on her senior year with no continuity, not knowing who she's applied to, not knowing her situation, and is, you know, supposed to catch up. You're doing these children a tremendous disservice. You're talking to them about the trauma caused by lockdowns and drills and all these other things. You know, part of that trauma is having to start over and losing somebody you trust in the school. When you have someone advocating for you and fighting for you, and then that person is taken away at a vital point, and a new person comes in not knowing your history, not knowing your family story, not knowing your desires and your aspirations. You are hurting these children and doing them a huge disservice. So in broad terms, not a particular person, then, you are hurting children by this lack of continuity in the guidance department.
Thank you for your comments. All right, we have another hand up online.
Hello, Jennifer Brooks, not Patrick Brooks, he just spoke, 893 Garden Street. I'm happily related to him. I wanted to make a couple points. One was that I first wanted to thank Mr. Petrus and his chaperones for taking the 7th and 8th grade GNT students to Philadelphia. It was an amazing experience and one that my child desperately needed after 2 years of lockdown. I did want to readdress the schools being open on Election Day. I came to the board in 2018, as I do to many meetings. I spoke to the board right after Parkland happened and explained that if we were closed in November for elections, why were we not closed in June? I was promised by the board at that time, of which I think some of you were still members at that time, that this would not happen again. For the next 3 years, we were indeed closed on June for the elections. One happened to coincide with a holiday. The other two was either related to COVID or virtual. It was my fault for not noticing in September that that was back open to the public simply a week after Texas happened. I think we are remiss in the fact that we make progress and then we step back with no reason as to why we are taking the progress back. I would like the board to please look at the calendar, make a resolution to make some changes. If it's one day that we can keep our kids safe from outside resources, that's great. In addition to blaming outsiders, whether a student lives here or doesn't live here is really not the issue. The issue is the safety of our schools. I don't blame students for where their parents live or where they tell them to say they live. Students are entitled to an education, and they're entitled to a safe education. I was going to read you some texts from my son. These texts I'm not going to read because it would violate his personal nature, and I don't want to do that to him. But I will say this. Texting your son during the day, almost weekly, to find out if he's okay, and while he might physically be okay, maybe not as emotionally or socially okay, is just as much of a problem as the physical would be. It is disheartening, to say the least, to have been in this district and lived here for 22 years and to be faced with the same challenges week after week, year after year. I support Dr. Taylor and all your initiatives, and I know a lot of parents that have brought these initiatives forward. We've been fighting for a long time, and it's very hard to continue the fight. And yet, obviously, we love our students enough that we'll always continue the fight. I thank God that all the students and faculty and staff were safe. I know you're always doing your best. However, I do feel we can do better, and I don't think we need a company to tell us where our pitfalls are. I think we're very well aware of those. And that's all. Thank you so much for your time, and have a good summer.
Thank you for your comments. A little bit closer.
Hi, I'm Faith Cardillo, 634 Evergreen Parkway. I wanted to provide some insight just from a student perspective. I'm going into my senior year at Union High School here. Just briefly mentioning, when I was a freshman, we had the tremendously long lockdown where I didn't get home until 6, 7 o'clock at night, and I was stuck in a corner of the room, lights off, everything locked, having no idea what was going on, texting my parents, "I love you," not knowing what was going on outside, where there were people sprinting up and down hallways, and the trauma that led right into a pandemic, where it wasn't even a month or two later. And then I was left isolated constantly with no support whatsoever coming from guidance counselors or teachers, no one reaching out asking me if I was okay after that. And so then coming to the security of coming back into school, and then in the recent shelter in place that took place like last week, I had a substitute that period who was unaware of where the spare key was in the classroom. No door was locked, no lights were off, there was no security, and that was the most petrified I've ever been inside a classroom. And that comes from experiencing hours of lockdowns, is when substitutes aren't aware of where spare keys are if there is a lockdown or if there is a shelter in place, and that uncertainty of the substitutes not knowing what to do, where even though it was a shelter in place, he had us treat it like a lockdown where I was under a table on the verge of tears for over an hour when we were trying to locate students that weren't students at our school and weren't supposed to be there. And coming from loads and loads of experiences like this where it's constant lockdowns, constant shelter in places, the uncertainty of not having information quick enough and not having it given to the parents quick enough, where it's not even just me and my classmates that are afraid, it's then the parents are afraid. And then that leads to rumors circulating and just misinformation constantly, and this needs to be addressed, and it needs to be addressed now.
Thank you for your comments, and I'm really sorry that you had to go through that. Another hand raised.
Hi, my name is Jayla Carvajal, 1034 Lorraine. I'm a senior at Union High School, and I know that we're not supposed to speak like directly on personnel, so I'll try to keep it as broad as I can. But my concern is like the same as what a gentleman before me has stated with the counseling department and how so many things have changed and keep changing. Throughout my 4 years, like I know I'm almost done, but throughout my 4 years, you know, like I'm sorry, I don't know how to say this. I've never had like a connection with my counselor. Like I've never really been helped before until this year. And I feel like there's been so many staff changes that like every year we go into school, we don't really know what to expect or like who we're like expected to speak to. Like they don't know our situations, they don't know us personally. And I feel like the constant changes in like principals and counseling faculty members, it's hard on the students, like coming from like a student's perspective. It's very challenging trying to like, you know, retell like these different people like your situations and like your aspirations and like the kind of things that you want to do and like how they can help you. And it's really hard when there's someone new each year and you have to just keep re-explaining yourself. Like that's one of my main concerns, and I expressed this concern to Dr. Taylor as well, that like some of the faculty members and like the changes, I don't think that they're what's best for the students, because this year my current counselor has helped me extremely, and I don't think that I would have ended my senior year the way that I did if it wasn't for her specifically, and if it wasn't for our principal as well. Like they have helped me so much, and I feel like them not returning next year is really unfortunate for like the underclassmen and the future students of UHS, because they're like, from personally, like they are, I'm sorry, I keep stuttering, but they have helped me so much and they have helped me grow as a person so much. And I've been in this district for like over 5 years, and no other staff member or faculty member have helped me grow and like have new perspectives and like just helps me overall. And I think that it would be doing the underclassmen as well as future students an incredible disservice by not having them in the building, because they truly care about the students and they do more than what they're supposed to. They do more than just what their job like tells them.
Thank you very much for your comments. And we're next, please.
Sol Atencio, 340 Willow Drive. As long as not involved, I'm gonna be okay. As long as I'm not involved, I'm going to be okay. This is what my 15-year-old told me at the high school. He's a sophomore. He said this the date of the school was breached. Okay? Because you know what? He said, as long as I'm involved, I'm going to be okay. Because I raised a respectful, decent, caring, and kind child. He felt that by doing this, he was going to be invisible to the danger that he was exposed during the school breach. And I wish he was right, okay? And this is who he is. Not really aware because he was just drawing during the moment that a school was being breached. When I was having like a horrible anxiety about my kid, not being safe at school. He couldn't see any danger coming across him. He doesn't understand that if he just happens to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, something could have just gone wrong. Let alone that students are alone in classrooms sometimes. Substitutes that are not really aware of like safety policies. I mean, I just can't believe after so many times we have raised concerns regarding to safety on school, we're still asking the district to make our schools safer and keep children protected. No alarm at the doors or alarm at the door. He's monitoring this. Who's looking at this? So everybody can be aware of what's going on within the school. I mean, it's just like, and no, let alone that we're blaming outsiders due to lack of safety. I mean, I just feel like the district is taking the chances very lightly. And that only means my child's safety is taken very lightly. And with all the horrible incidents that are happening across the country, I can't understand how the district is reactive and not proactive to all this.
Thank you for your comments. And I can assure you
Don't bother.
Okay. Is there another raised hand? No other raised hands. Ma'am, you have the mic.
My name's Megan Palestis. I'm at 2730 Andrea Road. Good evening. I have two children in Union Schools. My daughter was just promoted from 8th grade at Burnett yesterday. My son is wrapping up his sophomore year at the high school. I'd like to first express my appreciation for the teaching and support staff for all of their efforts during another difficult year. I'm optimistic that this board and our district leadership will finish negotiating a new contract that recognizes these efforts and ensures that our district is competitive with neighboring districts when it comes to hiring and retaining quality instructors. Tonight, I'd also like to give special thanks to the music teachers, Mr. Singletary and Mr. Myers. My daughter's experience at Burnett was enriched greatly by select chorus, orchestra, and the jazz band. Both of these gentlemen developed our students into high-level performers, put on a fantastic spring concert last week. This was the first BMS concert since December 2019 and was an impressive return to form. This was especially important to all of our class of 22 performers at Burnett because they did not have the opportunity to perform in a school theater production during their 3 years at Burnett. They did not put on a show. I also want to recognize the importance of school nurses. They're critical staff responsible for supporting the physical and mental well-being of our students. Since the arrival of COVID-19, this task has grown only more challenging, and I specifically want to advocate for additional staff at the high school, which has such an enormous population and needs extra support compared to what is there now. Please prioritize the health of our students as you make personnel decisions going forward and over the summer. Others have covered many concerns tonight regarding safety, security, and discipline at Union High School. And I fully agree that a culture of accountability is critical here. These kids, like others around New Jersey and around the country, have had anything but a normal high school experience, and the clock is ticking. Once our kids get to high school, we only have a few short years before they are legal adults. We have a short window in which to guide them, and we need to ensure that the vast majority of students, the ones who don't cause trouble, are not adversely affected by the actions of their peers. Thank you for your kind attention.
Good evening. Rich Devanza, UTA Vice President, and also co-chair of the negotiations team. I'd just like, on the behalf of the UTA President Ann Margaret Shannon and all of our members, to thank the board for approving our contract tonight. It's been a long time coming, especially what people reiterated what's going on in this society, what we went through for the pandemic, and just sheer exhaustion from our members to begin with. So this is hopefully will shed a light moving forward, to have a nice restful summer and really recoup for September, and hopefully start to, help the district point in the right direction, especially when it comes to, the wear and tear of the daily grind each day that our members experience. So anything appreciated. Of course, Kim Scott knows as ESP as well, the tribulations that go through, and hears it on the national level. So it's not just here in Union, New Jersey, but there's a big struggle going across, so it's greatly appreciated by all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Ann Margaret Shannon, 2591 Spruce Street, and the UTA President. Thank you to Ms. Hayden and Ms. Santana for their kind words tonight. The UTA is a big part of this community, and we want to continue to be so. Hopefully you all enjoyed the Juneteenth celebration Saturday. We were a sponsor of that event, and we have more planned. We hope that you all have a great summer, but please put August 16th on your calendar. This year we started a new committee, the Community Schools Committee. I've mentioned it before, and we're planning at Rabkin Park our first district-wide block party. So please look forward to the announcements, and I hope you all make it, August 16th. Thank you.
Louisa Baez, 591 Duquesne Terrace. Good evening. I am here. I have been showing up. I have been speaking, and I will continue to speak. I will continue to show up. Actions speak louder than words, and I'm hoping the district is going to actions instead of just great words, great PR, great everything. I need safety. I need safety. Our children need safety. Our teachers need to feel safe. Our teachers are not feeling safe, and that is transpiring into our students not feeling safe. And I am specifically speaking about the high school. My son's a freshman. I have nothing but good things to say about the rest of my experiences, but this freshman year we have to have accountability. We have to have predictable consequences. We need structure. We need specific routines. We need continuity of staff, guidance counselors, everything like that. But we also need to retain teachers and safety. We live in a world that these children need to be safe. I should not have to worry about getting a text from my son about someone running through the hallways with a little bat. I don't know what size the bat was, but it was a weapon. So this should not be happening. I don't know. I'm glad that someone else is going to help us with the bill for the safety thing. However, we as parents, we know where the problems are. We are working. We know where the problems are. We know that every door, all these cameras should be working. There's a lot of changes that need to come, and we have to make it happen. We have to work together. Also, I just want to touch base on the Kiwami Middle School teacher situation about the whole giving the time, donating the time. That should not even be an issue. I'm not sure if it was resolved, but at 2 meetings ago, I couldn't even believe that's not allowed, that you cannot donate your time to someone who is fighting cancer. That was heartbreaking to hear, that we are not allowing people to donate their time. Thank you.
We need to go into executive session.
That's correct, Madam President. We need to go into executive session to discuss confidential student disciplinary matters.
Okay, may I have a motion? May I have a second?
Second.
Moved by Ms. McKenzie, seconded by Ms. Brins Watson. Ms. Capiello, roll call, please.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.